Are you doing it in support of Tony Romo or because you support the decision?
I support Tony Romo. I love Tony Romo. I have loved Tony Romo. I thought he was the closest thing in this league to Aaron Rodgers. Now I think it's Derek Carr of the Raiders. I am a Romo fan. He made the quarterback position for the Cowboys glamorous again, much like Derek Jeter did to the Yankees shortstop position. Let me start with this. I am a big believer in body language and reading people. Sometimes it's to protect myself. Other times, I'll be frank here, it's to manipulate others. Oh, I've gone to therapy on it. I read body language. I could tell when I met Christine Leahy and we interviewed a year ago, a little reluctant, starting to like me, all in. I could tell. I can read it. I drove home that day. I said, all right, she's on the team. I believe it's real. Go on a date a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I started saying on American television, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers and some of his teammates, that body language ain't good. Funny now, everybody in the media now talks about it. 2 years ago, I said, Derek Carr, watch his body language. Everybody in his face. What did we hear this year? Work ethic. Teammates love him. Totally engaged. I'm not trying to play sociologist, but it matters, and it's obvious. You go on a date, you can tell she's into you, she's not into you. You can tell during an interview when you say something and the guy thinks, not into this guy. We all know the game. It's real. Anybody notice Tony Romo's body language yesterday? Facial expressions, body language. That speech by Tony Romo and that body language at the podium gave you a glimpse of what the behind-the-scene discussions were with Jerry Jones. You didn't have to be in that room. You didn't have to be a fly on the wall. You didn't have to be listening on a phone call. I know what the discussions were like with Tony Romo and Jerry Jones based on that press conference yesterday. Tony looked a little low energy. Hey, guys. Tried to make a joke. Depressed. Stoic. What you saw yesterday, barring an injury, was the end of Tony Romo in Dallas. It's the end. He said something at the very end of the press conference. And I watched it and I listened to it. And what I do when I watch and listen to things a second time is I turn the sound down and just watch the body language. Or I turn around my chair and just listen to the voice. It's a trick I learned years ago from news directors. Sometimes you can be enamored with appearance. Sometimes you can be too enamored with voice. But if you watch that, then you watch it again with the sound down, and then you turn your chair around and watch that press conference again, not looking at Tony, depressed, stoic, final chapter. Listen to this very final thing Tony Romo said.
I feel like we all have two battles or two enemies going on. One with the man across from you. The second is with the man inside of you. I think once you control the one inside of you, the one across from you really doesn't matter.
That ain't football. That's philosophy. That ain't football right there. That's life. What you saw yesterday was the first act to the final chapter in Dallas. He'll probably hold one or two more of those. That was the first act to the final chapter. That was not a football comment. That was introspection. That was intuitive. That is how I feel. That is how I see the world. That is how I see myself within the Cowboys structure. That comment said it all. That was conceding. That was acknowledging. That was, it's been great. I'll be a good soldier, but it's over here. Everybody's going to say, it's not over. They play Baltimore. Dak is a rookie. Tony Romo's fantastic. You go back and look at that press conference for anybody in the media that can, or any of you fans that can do it on YouTube. You go watch it again. Turn the sound down. Watch the body language. That's like the last time you and your wife have a serious talk before a divorce. I've had one of those talks. I've had one of those talks. They're painful. That was painful for Tony Romo. He is a remarkable talent. I think he will end his career with another team. I absolutely think I know that team. It is not a team I've talked about before, but I will lay that out for you coming up in 10 minutes. Before we get to that, though, oh, boy. I saw this story. I'm going to give this a name. Tonight in the NBA, the Rockets' James Harden faces the Thunder's Russell Westbrook. The headline, it will pit the game's top two guards. I'm going to call this Slobberfest 2016. Oh, my God. Unfollow every NBA guy on Twitter tonight. The dribbling you'll see will be the saliva running down the chins of NBA beat writers. Yes, I've been told that Harden and Westbrook are amazing. And the media in the NBA, often promotional, fanboyish, pom-pom waving, sycophant-like, forgets to tell you that the NBA leaders in turnovers are John Wall, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. Dynamic, electric, turnover machines who don't play much on the other end at times. Those players, Westbrook and Harden, are championship deterrents, not championship ingredients. Sort of a difference. You see, I see the NBA differently than NBA beat writers. I am going to give you the favorite NBA players from the media perspective. LeBron, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, John Wall, Blake Griffin. Oh, that's who the NBA media loves. Flashy. Exciting. Dynamic. Westbrook, Harden. I'm going to give you my favorite NBA players. See if you notice the difference. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Paul George. Tough, high basketball IQs, often not flashy, often don't appear to be dynamic. Guys who sometimes have overcome injuries. That's what happens when you play defense. Tough, not always liked by teammates. Physical, not always loved or appreciated by fans. Those are my favorite NBA players. Tonight, the two guys Twitter loves, Harden and Westbrook, will put on a fireworks show. It's Slobberfest 2016. Just look at those numbers. 30 points. 10 assists and 12 assists. What's T.O.? Timeout, turnover? What? Only 6 turnovers a game. That's terrible. That's terrible. And one of those guys plays no defense. So get ready for it. Stay off Twitter tonight, Christine. Oh, my God. Stay off Twitter tonight. A dangerous place for common sense. A dangerous place for those that like defense and physicality and winning titles and availability and toughness and not flash. Great to have you in today. I'm just starting. I've got a lot of energy, clearly. I've got a lot of things going on. Of course, every day I walk into FS1, and the amazing team here, they put out 3 or 4 shirts, because it is a TV show, of what I could wear. And today I had all these vibrant colors, and I did this during the Cubs run, and I did it this morning out of respect for Tony Romo, because I love Romo, and I like people who don't get the respect. That's why I put Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Chris Paul in there. I love guys who are great, but they don't attract.
Right.
They don't attract the attention. They don't date a Kardashian. They don't have a 48-inch vertical jump. They don't have a big beard. They're not always into endorsements. Tony Romo's one of those guys. And I love Tony Romo.
He dated Jessica Simpson.
Well, he's a good-looking guy, and it happens. You can't.
He broke up with her on her birthday.
Yeah. For the record, that's the best time to break up with him. No. Yes, it is. You save on that present. The point being is that he's not flawless. But Tony Romo is, I could make the argument, The best NFL player over the last decade who got none of the respect. Virtually every player in this league was beloved. J.J. Watt was good for 3 years. Tony Romo was good for a decade. And people forget this. Dallas's offensive line now is phenomenal. You remember his first 6 years starting? Tony Romo was running for his life. You know why he's hurt now? Because of the offensive line the first 6 years in Dallas. People forget this. Tony Romo was duct tape for that franchise. And the sad irony is today, Jerry Jones has finally matured, and it's too late for Romo. It's too late. When the organization finally matured, Tony Romo had held them together for 8 to 10 years, and he doesn't get the victory wine. He doesn't get the champagne. I have great sympathy for Tony Romo on that. Because you're all watching the Cowboys now. It's offensive line. You go back to Tony's first 6 years. He was running for his life. So the guy that puts in all the time at the company's falling apart. You don't know about the guy. He's working really hard. Doesn't get the love, doesn't get the job promotion, doesn't get the endorsements, doesn't get the money. And then finally the company pops. And he doesn't get invited to the party. I feel for that guy. That guy is all over America. That puts in the time and you don't notice it and doesn't get the big paycheck initially and holds the company together. He may work in the mailroom. He may work back in the shop. He didn't get any of the love, none of the respect. He's got nothing around him. And this organization finally has all sorts of stuff around it. And Tony's all beat up. And Tony put in those hours. And Tony got his arse kicked and pushed around and shoved and a helmet to the ribs. And he doesn't get to celebrate because this is the best roster they've had. Easily. And he doesn't get it. I'm not anti-Dak. I'm pro-Tony. And I thought yesterday was incredibly hard and incredibly telling. That was a sad guy. Good to have you in today. Very good. Okay, I've got to get to a lot of stuff. 10 minutes of Joel Klatt and I arguing at the top of next hour. Jason Whitlock stops by, Ray Lewis as well. And I will tell you where Tony Romo is going to play next. That's next. For everybody out there who is hiring, I'm so glad I don't have to hire. So glad now I'm at a company that's got all these people. I don't have to do the hiring now. I had to hire Christine, kind of, sort of, not really. I don't like, it's hard. Hiring's hard. ZipRecruiter.com can make it easy. Because if you want the best people, I mean, you got to recruit from a wide net of people. You may find your best employee from Chicago, Alabama, West Virginia, Dallas, Denver, Colorado, Phoenix, Seattle. Who knows? Go to ZipRecruiter.com/herd. Try it free right now. Listen, over 1 billion businesses have used ZipRecruiter.com. Over 1 billion. Not people, businesses. You can post your job to 100-plus job sites, including Facebook and Twitter, social media sites, with one click. One click. Everywhere. Any city, any industry, nationwide. One click. Don't have to juggle emails, get a bunch of calls to your office. Just screen the candidates, rate them, hire them. ZipRecruiter.com/herd. ZipRecruiter.com/herd. Seeing Maverick Carter, and I stayed out of the race lane. Like, my takeaway was, I wanted to discuss, I thought it was a dig at LeBron James and his guys. I wanted to stay out of the racial lane. Here, here's sort of the way. I think it's kind of funny sometimes when you see this in politics. I don't know how everybody feels. Like, I'm not going to speak for women. I'm not going to speak for young African Americans because I don't know how they feel. I think sometimes people think everything lands the exact same way for people. Well, I'm 40 years old and white. This is how it lands for me. Therefore, that's how it lands for women. It's not the way it works. I'm involved in a lot of businesses. My friends are. I've learned a lot in business through the years. People tell me, hire diversity, hire women, have age diversity, gender diversity. People's eyes and feelings don't work the same. Posse to me, I mean, first of all, I'm a loner, so I don't have a posse. I'm jealous of people who have a posse. I wish people said I had a posse. I don't even have an entourage. I don't have a guy. Like, I don't have that. I wish I did. I wish people would be like, Kurt's posse. I don't have one. So I don't know much about posses. Here's what I know. Stuff doesn't always land the same for me. Like my wife one time when we lived in Connecticut, and it was really kind of an epiphany for me. And we're walking around Hartford, and I'm like, let's go downtown Hartford. And she's like, oh, no. She goes, women don't like Hartford. I'm like, why? She goes, first of all, there's those cobblestone streets everywhere. Ever tried to wear heels on those? I'm like, well, I don't wear heels. But again, 40-year-old white male, he knows how everybody thinks. Go to Twitter. He's an expert. So my wife's like, it's a terrible town to walk in. She goes, secondarily, the lighting's terrible. She goes, in the city of Hartford, where you park your car is often a 100-yard walk to where you'll eat dinner with poor lighting. I'm 128 pounds. You're 200. It's amazing how often guy on Twitter who's 40, you don't know how women think. You don't know how minorities think. That's not a liberal take by me. That's just an honest take, being my age and living in the world I've lived in. You don't know how it lands for African-American 28-year-old dudes. You don't know. I don't know. So I yesterday stayed out of that. I said, I don't know if posse's racial. I've used the word. The word thug. Like I've called hockey guys. Ty Domi was a thug. Bob Probert was a thug. They were hockey guys. They're Caucasians. But for some, it may land differently. So what I always try to stay out of is I know how everybody thinks. Some people can't imagine Trump as president. Some people can't imagine Hillary as a president. Neither's necessarily wrong. It's how you see the world. If you live in rural America, if you live in the city, you may see the world differently. But people on social media are absolutely sure how they see the world and how stuff lands for them is the only way it lands. It's not true. So Tony Romo yesterday pretty much signified, watch his body language, listen to his words. I mean, he read off a paper. He sat down probably for a couple hours and wrote that puppy out. He didn't want to make any mistakes. He's now saying to me, I don't want to make any mistakes up here. I know it's not my team anymore. But I do believe there's about 7 or 8 teams that would make a call to Tony Romo's agent. The Rams, the Jets, the Bears, Jacksonville, Houston, Arizona, Denver. I think there are 2 leaders in the clubhouse, Arizona and Denver, because I think there are 4 qualifications for Tony Romo. Tony Romo's got a lot of money in the bank, and he's not desperate. He doesn't have to play again. But I think he would listen to a team that had 4 qualifications. Good ownership, playoff roster, strong offensive line, respected head coach. Okay, Tony's a guy with options. He's the doctor with options. He's been working at the hospital for 30 years. He's got about 5 more left. He's not going to a clinic you see off the interstate. He's going to go to Boston General, the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, UCLA Medical Center. Okay, he's not going to go to a shabby hospital, the surgeon that's got 5 years left and plenty of money and options. Okay, Tony Romo's going to a place he wants ownership, roster, O-line, respected head coach. To me, it's obvious. Arizona. Solid ownership, playoff roster, good solid offensive line, gotten better, they've rebuilt it, and Bruce Arians, a quarterback coach. Plays inside in the dome. Old people love moving to Arizona. Stay indoors a lot in the heat. Sounds like Tony Romo. Now, you could say Denver, but here's the thing with Denver, is that now that Jared Goff is starting, John Elway is going to feel some pressure to play Paxton Lynch. Because now Carson Wentz is playing, and Mariota's playing, and Jameis Winston is playing. They want to play Paxton Lynch. They want to play, if you move up and you want to you got your quarterback, you're not going to go again to the Peyton Manning thing. And I think Elway realizes pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. We've done that. Bring the old guy to town. It worked. Don't try it again. I mean, once is great. Twice you're getting greedy. So I think the Arizona Cardinals, now, it would be better for Tony Romo if the Cowboys cut him and he could select his team. It's better for the Cowboys if they cut him. Half the salary cap hit. But I think Romo and Tony have a relationship where they have talked about this. They're good soldiers. And Tony Romo, Jerry Jones would give Romo opportunities to go where he wanted to go. I think Jerry Jones would rather he go to the other conference. He doesn't want him going to Washington. If Kirk Cousins gets franchise tag or leaves, he doesn't want him going to Washington. I think Arizona would be okay because he probably wouldn't have to play him for 2 years. And Seattle probably win the division anyway. Jerry Jones yesterday said, it's not over for Romo. Come on, it's over for Romo.
You don't rule out, obviously, we don't rule that out. That'd be madness. If you rule that out, then why would you ever even have a real commitment to a backup quarterback? And, boy, just like any position, but even more importantly, to have Tony Romo able to step in at the right time when you would need him is absolutely unthinkable in a positive way.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's over. It stacks teams now. The Herd brought to you by TrueCar. Ready to buy a new one? Download the TrueCar app. See what others paid for it. Get guaranteed savings up to $3,000 off MSRP. Save time and money. Download the TrueCar app today. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Yesterday, Jeff Fisher announced that Jared Goff would be the starting quarterback for the Rams this Sunday, and here he is explaining his decision.
It was just Jared's, his progress and the progression week after week after week, preparing to be a 2, preparing, to be a play away from going in, and when he got the reps, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, they were right, they were good decisions, and so it's time.
They play at home against the Dolphins. How scared are you for Jared Goff?
Well, Miami, there's 2 teams in this league that are a lot better than everybody realizes. The Miami Dolphins and the Washington Redskins. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and the Tennessee Titans now, I'd throw them in too. These teams in the last 3 weeks are not the same team that started the year. Like, Washington now is really good. Miami's really good. Tennessee's really good. They can go toe-to-toe with anybody in this league, including the Cowboys and the Patriots and the Steelers. I mean, in fact, Pittsburgh went down to Miami and got crushed. So you could have picked easier teams than the Miami Dolphins, and Tannehill's playing the best football of his life right now.
If he struggles, do you keep him in?
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, again, if he throws 6 picks, maybe not. But I think, listen, he's been now with the team, OTA, preseason, snaps, practices. I think what their number one concern was, can he take the snap from center? And he's been doing that for 2.5 hours every day now for 2 months. I think he's ready to go.
I'm nervous for him, though.
I can't wait to watch.
It kept him caged up.
I cannot wait to watch this game.
Earl Thomas, I think this is just so sweet. Remember the play where Rob Gronkowski had to leave the field and they were asking concussion protocol questions?
Right.
And then it turned out he actually suffered a punctured lung from this hit by Earl Thomas.
Brutal hit. I mean, it was a clean hit, but holy moly, was that a big hit.
I'm glad that you said clean hit. So Earl Thomas tweeted towards Gronk once he heard about the news that Gronk will have to miss a game. He said, nothing but respect for Gronk, one of the best I've lined up against, hoping to see him back on the field sooner than later. Very sweet, very classy move.
Yep.
What's even cooler is Rob Gronkowski responded
he did.
to Earl Thomas. Yes, he tweeted back at him and said, the respect is mutual, man. You got the best of me on that one. The grind is real. You showed the fans a real football hit.
Is that awesome or what?
That's amazing. I couldn't love Gronk enough already. I love him even more. But
first of all, those are
them.
That's the best safety probably and the best tight end in football.
I love that.
2 of the top 15 football players in the National Football League. Right there. You watch them on one play.
A punctured lung, though, still freaks me out. Apparently, it's when your rib goes into your lung. Ew. And finally, Tom Brady has a new commercial out. It's debuting today. It will only be on the air for 10 days. It's part of Foot Locker's Week of Greatness leading up to Thanksgiving, and you're going to love it. I mean, obviously, he was speaking from the heart there, if you know what I mean. But I really think he might have a future in acting. So for the record, Foot Locker wrote the spot, but Tom Brady was all in.
I want to retweet that. That's so good. I want to retweet that. Send it to me, social media peeps.
I think we'll get that done for you.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Man, me and Ray Lewis are going to go at it today. I cannot believe what he's about to say. A 2-time Super Bowl champ, one of my favorite guys, 13-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, my God, Ray Lewis. He didn't like the Tony Romo presser. I thought it was from the heart, and he loves the team, and he's a warrior, and I hear Ray Lewis thought it was phony. But you thought it was weak.
I just, there's nothing Tony don't know about the game. There's nothing he don't know about the quarterback position, win, losing, all of that. And so this is not an issue that just came up in 1 week. This is something that's been going on all year. So I would have loved to just hear from his heart.
You didn't like looking down at the paper.
Give me you. Give me 100% you. And you being hurt and maybe disappointed and maybe pissed off, okay, that's fine. It's okay to be that. But give me that genuinely. Like, just come out and say, man, look, what, do I want to be out there? Absolutely. I do want to be out there. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but I can't. And I cannot deny that this young kid is doing something that is very special. And guess what? You got to think about him going in the quarterback room, right? Every week. So where the coach is grading this young kid.
Yeah.
And you're watching this.
Yeah, Tony's in the room.
He's in the room now. And he's listening to what the quarterback coach and everybody is saying about this young kid. And so that's your message. Your message is everything you've seen. I'm sitting in the room with this guy. I'm watching the coaches praise this guy. It's his turn. Yeah, am I disappointed? Absolutely, I'm disappointed.
But when I watched that yesterday, you know what I thought, Ray?
Yeah.
I watched his body language, and he wrote it down to be careful. It was like, it's over. Like it was saying, now barring an injury, it kind of felt like it's conceded.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm going to agree because it's like, I always use the analogy, you think about the Serengeti, right? When that lion comes by and you ain't taking care of your pride, he going to try you. The king going to try the king. And there's a young lion in Dak Prescott who came in and now has this opportunity, man, and I'm telling you, Colin, why I don't know why he's not the front runner for MVP. Like, we have not seen a rookie quarterback come do this in years.
Peyton didn't.
Not in this league.
Eli took 6 years.
Yeah, you can go all the way down the line.
So why aren't we doing it?
I don't.
Well, he's a rookie.
See, but this is going back to the distraction on what I'm speaking about. We keep focusing on if Romo's going to get back in or not. We should be focusing on this young boy got his team 8-1, the best record in the National Football League. And he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, front runner for an MVP. I don't see nobody else. I'm not putting nobody else above that right now because of his body of work and what he's done in this one season.
Now, did you? Now again, you and I are going to disagree with this. Listen, for the first 6 years of Romo's life, that organization, that offensive line was a joke. Now you played in Baltimore. You had a good GM. You mostly were surrounded by good players, and you've told me often that one of the reasons you were able to excel because the defensive horse is in front of you.
Sure.
Tony for 6 years ran for his life.
Yeah.
And so I think he's underrated. I think Brady's always had good lines. Peyton Manning always had stars, Edger and James. And so I heard you don't like Romo. To be honest.
No, that's not true.
That's what they say.
That's not true. I like Romo. But what I'm telling you is right now, Romo is clearly the answer for Dallas is Dak Prescott.
So Romo...
That's all I'm saying.
What about Tony's career? I want you to spit it right out.
Well, it's what the standard for Dallas, if you think about this, the standard for Dallas is what they did in the 90s.
Aikman, Staubach.
Absolutely. Back-to-back Super Bowls. That's the standard for Dallas. So when you bring Romo in, you got to understand, it's not about me going against Romo. It's about me saying what Romo was put there to do, it hasn't happened. We're talking about over almost a 20-year span, and they've seen the playoffs, once? So, men and women lie, right? But I believe numbers don't. And one thing about the harsh numbers is where in Romo's position, all of the fundamentally things that the infrastructure that they put around that, go get the best offensive line, go get the best running game in DeMarco Murray before you let him go get a beast wide receiver in Dez Bryant, go get all of these pieces, go get a Hall of Fame tight end in Jason Witten. Let me tell you why I like the quarterbacks why I like the Cowboys, because everything infrastructure wise is in place. And the one thing that they were missing, maybe, is Dak Prescott.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that. All right. So yesterday we had this posse thing. Maverick Carter came on my show, and I said I said this about 10 minutes ago, Ray, is one of the things I never try to understand is I don't know how women think. I don't know how minorities think. I grew up in a small town. My dad was an optometrist. I had probably a better than average life. I went to a decent college. I can't judge your life.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I met you, you told me your life story. I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. I wasn't asked to be the guy running my house at 13. Mm-hmm. So I never know how things land. Posse to me, first of all, I don't have one and I wish I did. Yeah. It isn't racial to me. Mm. But when Phil Jackson said it, you have a different life experience than I do. Yeah. Okay. So what does posse mean to you?
Yeah, the word posse, I think we're confusing something. The word posse is one thing. It's how he described what a posse is.
See, that's what I thought. I thought it was a dig.
Absolutely.
Phil knew it was a dig.
Yeah, it was a dig. I mean, for him to say that about this guy's family and crew, people he grew up with, right? And now he's saying he got all these guys hanging out with him. They go get him cars and they go get him women and all these things. The question I'm asking Phil Jackson, describe to me what you're trying to say about, great question. Steve Kerr walks by you. Steve Kerr got 4 friends with him. You're not going to say, I saw Steve Kerr in his posse last night. Tom Brady walks by with 4 friends. You're not going to say Tom Brady walks by with his posse last night. You're going to say Tom Brady walked by with some friends last night. Steve Kerr left with some friends last night. But then you go further to define the word posse in his terms of, though these are guys who goes out and gets him fancy cars and gets him women and all these different things. Really, that's the way you view us. That you really believe because he looks like me and he works for me, that only thing he does for me is go out and get cars and get women. Really? With that shallow of living? I doubt it.
So what do you call your guys? Like I always said, if I saw you, I'd be like, yeah, it's raining his guys.
Yeah.
I use guys. Now, in LeBron's case, because I would never use the word, because I know Maverick, I'd never use the word associates. I'd say that's LeBron and his guys. That's just that's the term I would use.
That's my boys.
Okay, you say your boys.
Yeah, my boys, my homies, my friends. It can be whatever. Like I said, the word is one thing. You just got to go past the word. And this is really interesting, right? I wrote a book, of course, right? And everything. And so to put that in a book.
That means you thought about it?
That means you thought about it.
You had an editor?
Oh my gosh. And he asked you 1,000 times.
You want to put that?
Do you want to put this in your book?
See, I always say, Ray, there's a difference between voting and putting a Trump sign in your yard.
Absolutely.
One's voting, one's promoting.
Absolutely.
So to put something in a book, because I wrote a book too.
Yeah.
It gets edited 6 times.
You go over it too many times, Colin. You go over that too many times. And you ask, go over it. Is this exactly what you want to say?
It's not like being on a radio show and for being an idiot.
And so that's what I'm saying. And it still bothers me in 2004 that he was able to write what he thought that this crew meant and what he thought those people's jobs was because they were hanging around with LeBron James. But he never wrote in his entire career or nothing else in his book about nobody else's crew ever being going out and getting women and doing all these other things instead of building empires.
See, my theory yesterday was people in power don't like it when young people take away their power. Right. And Pat Riley and Phil have run this league for a long time.
And there's a new sheriff in town.
And LeBron runs the league. It's Adam Silver 1, LeBron 2, everybody else, it's just opinion and commentary. Yeah. Good seeing you, man.
Yeah, man. Always.
I thought this was going to get ugly.
No,
because you were going to bag on Romo.
No, I told you I like what they're doing. I just like Dak Prescott a little better.
Okay, and Romo's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ray Lewis, top of the hour. Joel Klatt. Hey, sooner or later, your car's going to break down. Engine 4 grand, transmission 3, man. You need extended coverage. CarShield.com. Over $2 billion in claims has been furnished by CarShield.com. They make it hassle-free. You pick the garage, you pick the mechanic, you pick the dealer, and they reimburse them. You have to worry about. They do. Money. Download their app. You can save $3,000 off MSRP. See what others paid for the car you want. Save time and money. Download the True Car app today. Wearing cowboy blue in honor of Tony Romo. His career is essentially over. I'm going to throw this to you. We were talking about, Dak's going to start, and a lot of people are saying, well, on our staff this morning, Christine, a lot of guys were saying, I got some cowboy haters on my staff. I myself am not a cowboy hater. I'm a cowboy realist and for years a Romo apologist. But a lot of guys on my staff are like, well, they face Baltimore next. Baltimore's got like the number 1 ranked defense. A couple weeks they face Minnesota. A couple weeks they face Philadelphia. They got a lot of good defenses coming up here. And my takeaway is after every good defense they face in Baltimore, the next week they face Washington defense. And after they face Minnesota's defense, they face the Giants defense. And then I said to myself, think about this. If you look at the NFC standings right now, everybody's talking. I think it's over for Tony Romo. I feel bad for him, but I think it's over. If you look at the NFC standings right now with Dallas, if they beat Baltimore this weekend, and you start looking at Dallas' schedule, Dallas is they're 8-1. The next closest team to them is 6-2-1 Seattle. Okay, 6-2-1 Seattle. So do you see Dallas tying and losing here in the next few weeks? Giants, Tampa, Detroit, Washington, Baltimore, Minnesota's a mess. Seems to me Dallas very quickly here is going to start thinking to themselves, we don't want to get Dak hurt. What's the best defensive line Dallas will face the rest of the season? Week 16, Philadelphia Eagles. Take Dak out of that game. Let him prepare. Put Tony Romo in that game. Showcase him for all the other NFL teams who will be interested, because you could get a draft pick. If Tony comes out and goes for 300 yards, there's going to be Arizona's GM and the Jets GM and Jacksonville's GM, and they're going, okay, I'll give you a second-round pick. Let Tony Romo with that offensive line go out, light it up, look fantastic, put a game plan in underneath routes, protect Tony, don't get hurt, and you'll get a draft pick for Tony Romo, a high draft pick.
So that way, during the bye week, we can spend 2 weeks arguing about that Romo should be the starter because he threw for 300 yards in a meaningless game against the Eagles.
No, what it will prove is that Tony, Dak's your guy. What it will prove is, hey, Dak already beat Philadelphia once. Dak has a chance to be 14-2, 15-1 at that point. Tony won't be about Dak. You've made the decision on Dak. You got Mark Sanchez backing him up. It will be a showcase. It'll buoy Tony's confidence, and it will show every NFL GM.
What happens when he breaks something?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. That's a low probability. I'll tell you what he's going to break. NFL records in Week 16. That's what Tony Romo's going to break. I'm just throwing it out there. Everybody's like, oh, the schedule. Look at Dallas's record right now. Look at their schedule. They play a lot of these teams. Tampa's defense, Giants defense, Detroit defense, Washington defense. I mean, there's a lot of W's there for Dallas. They're going to be getting into home field advantage by and start. I guarantee you, Week 16. You think they're going to play Sean Lee? Hell no! I'd take Sean Lee out of there. I'm not going to play I'm not playing Tyrod.
You're right. So they're going to put fragile Tony Romo and take out all their starters. That way he has no help and no protection.
I would play the offensive line. I would rest guys Week 16. Philadelphia's physical, could bang guys up. You think I'm wrong on that?
Yes. You're creating a ton of controversy. Plus, that means you're gonna sit Dak. He's gonna have 2 consecutive weeks off. He's gonna lose all that momentum.
That was the argument in the first place, that you don't want to break the momentum.
And Romo's gonna break some bone. I don't know which one, but one of them's gonna snap.
Then you can't trade him.
It's very exciting. Listen, I didn't think Dak, when I watched Dak Prescott play in college, I said I think he's a better version of Tim Tebow. I think he runs too much, a lot of underneath routes. I like his throwing motion better than Tim Tebow. I didn't think he was an NFL star quarterback. Nobody else in the league did either for 3.5 rounds. But if you look at the line, and I still think Tony Romo would be winning all these games. But you can't pay Romo and Dak, so at some point, you want to get something for Tony Romo. And I just read Pro Football Talk this morning. People are saying you wouldn't get anything for Romo. You would if you showcased him in Week 16 and he threw for 350 yards and people went, oh, God, we forgot how good Tony Romo is. Because Tony Romo can play. And if you cut Tony Romo, Tony can go where he wants, and you just make a deal with Jerry Jones, don't go in division. I think he goes to Arizona. I think he considers Denver and he goes to Arizona. But I think Tony Romo, I honestly think in a strange, weird way, for Tony Romo, this time off, let his body heal, isn't the worst thing in the world. It is not the worst thing in the world. Peyton Manning's taken long stretches off. Tom Brady sat out for a year. By the way, Tom Brady missed a month. He came back. He looked pretty good. Inactivity is not an issue with Tony Romo. Healthy body is the issue. We have a history of quarterbacks taking a year off. They come back, they're fine. Brady was fine, set records the year he came back. Hour 2 coming up. I'm going to argue for 10 minutes with Joel Klatt on the... Oregon got close off a great coach and a great system and a great quarterback. But those programs are Ohio State and Michigan and Clemson and Bama and LSU and USC and Florida State and Texas maybe. and they just have better players. Even when they're down, they have better players. The minute Michigan got Jim Harbaugh, the next year, the right coach, all those bad players, it were still Michigan players. There's maybe 10 schools in the country. So any time I have to vote in a college football pool, and records are all tied or it's close, I'll always give the Michigan the advantage over Louisville. I'll give Clemson the advantage over Washington because they have more NFL bodies. The Washington-Louisville story this year isn't the same story if you change coaches. I mean, Ohio State, there's 7-8 coaches in the country that could take Ohio State's players. Nick Saban, Bobby Petrino, Jim Harbaugh, Chris Peterson, and win a national title. Same with Alabama. Nick's not the only guy that would be good with Alabama's talent. But the Washington-Louisville stories, those are about that. That's the story at those programs right now. That's the coach. You put a good, not a great coach at Louisville, a good, not a great coach at Washington. They're not the same team. Alabama's just got more good players. Ohio State's got more good players. Clemson's got more good players. There's 10 schools in the country that always have more NFL bodies. I talked to Barry Switzer on the air about this several times. Even when USC's down, you watch them against Washington, they got much better players. They're bigger, stronger, faster dudes. They got 55 guys of the 75, 85 guys on scholarship at USC, 70 of them are 5- and 4-star guys. Washington's got maybe 18, 20. So once you get the coaching right at a big school, they're just better. And I'm always going to give them benefit of the doubt. So, by the way, here's what the committee has is their top 4. Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Louisville, Washington first out. Here's what my poll would look like. I would have the Colin poll, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, USC, and LSU are the first 2 out. USC just smoked Washington. You're going to tell me Washington's better? By the way, here's the Vegas poll from pregame.com. They use odds makers and line setters, pregame.com. Oh, gosh, it looks a lot more like mine. That's funny. They got Washington at 9. They got USC at 6. They got LSU at 3. Vegas and mine look a lot more alike because Vegas isn't paralyzed by records. I went to the first round of the NFL draft, mock draft. I'm going to tell you where the players are from. I won't even tell you the player. Clemson, Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama, Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, LSU, Bama, Michigan, Clemson, USC, Florida State, Bama, Auburn, Georgia, Bama, Florida. That's pretty obvious, right? Like 70%, that's where they're from. So I always give those guys the benefit of the doubt. You start looking at all the guys on the SEC players in the mock draft, you start looking around, look where they're all going to school. They're like 75% are SEC dudes or big college powerhouse dudes. So whenever anybody's like, oh, you just favor the big dogs, so does Vegas. Who's right, the committee or Vegas? Who do you trust? Who would you trust? The committee or Vegas? Agendas or let's just get it right? I trust Vegas. Guys, if you're wondering whether your shirt's too long to wear untucked, probably is. Untuckit.com solve the problem. Making shirts designed to be worn untucked. Visit untuckit.com. Use the code SPORTS, 15% off. They have a store in Los Angeles now on Melrose Avenue. So I saw this story. Cam Newton, surprise, surprise, surprise. Cam Newton is not in favor of celebration penalties. I am going to let you hear from Mr. Is it Cameron?
Yes,
Mr. Cameron Newton on celebrations.
Can't wait.
Football is hard, man. I can't stress it enough. This is a tough sport. It's physical. Scoring a touchdown, getting a sack, getting a win, let alone all that bottled up and staying here at 10 at night, here at 6 a.m. in the morning. Everything, all the energy that you put, spending time away from your family, all that bottled up into being able to do exactly what you planned and foresaw yourself doing. You're owed something.
Oh, you are. Owed.
Okay, that was the wrong way of putting it.
Yeah, I'm owed it. Okay.
Okay.
Here are, when I say to you, when I think, I've been watching football a long time, so have you. When I say NFL/celebrations, here are the players I think of. A lot of them were very good players. Mm-hmm. Billy White Shoes Johnson, and a dirty Ray Rice, Peyton, Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Brady, Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. Those guys didn't celebrate all sorts of titles. If celebration means a lot to you, that's all I need to know. I'll give you an example. I don't have to hire many people, but in my life I've had to hire a handful. I've been the sports guy. I had to hire a producer or a weekend sports producer, caster. And I always played a trick.
Okay.
If you were a golfer, that's all I need to know. You're soft. If you're a golfer, I'm not going to hire you. So you know the trick I would always do when I interview guys? I'd bring them in. I'd go, what do you do in your spare time? I love to golf. Whoo, man, I just love to get out the clubs. I love to golf. And if they're like, oh, my God, I love golf. I'd be like, check, not hiring him.
Why?
If you're a celebration guy, it's all I need to know. If you're a golfer.
That is such a dirty trick.
Wait, I don't even, why does golfing?
It's an interview. So the guy is going to agree with you because he just wants to be on the same page.
No, it's an open-ended question. You just said, what do you like to do in your spare time?
No, I always talk about, hey, I love golf. Hey, do you like golf? See. Oh, I love golf. Check. Not hiring you.
Wait, I'm not following.
Golfers.
Boring?
Boring, not grinders.
But that's the opposite of celebration, is boring.
No, what I'm saying is in my business,
okay.
I don't worry about, people don't celebrate in my business. They don't spike their paycheck. In my business, I never hire golfers. And by the way, I never get lazy guy, because golfer guys on PGA.com, golfer guys obsessed with golf, he's putting in his office, grind, I want grinders. Nick Saban's not in a golf course. Urban Meyer's not in a golf course. Jim Harbaugh's not in a golf course. Howard Stern's not in a golf course. Rush Limbaugh's not in a golf course. And by the way, what was your complaint?
Well, you tricked the guy into admitting something. He might have been a guy who golfed twice a year.
He's a follower.
Oh,
he doesn't have his own mind.
Yeah, so either he's a golfer or a liar. I don't like either one.
If you're going to eliminate golfers and liars, you're not going to have a lot of people left to hire.
Well, you know what?
You would be surprised how many coaches and GMs lot of time on the golf
You'd be
course.
surprised how many people on your staff play golf and are now terrified to admit it.
Colin Goulet and I play golf together.
You do?
It's been nice working with you.
Weird.
Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Steelers are 4-5 on a 4-game losing streak, so Mike Tomlin naturally was asked if they need to overhaul their whole system, their offense. What is it? And here's his response.
We've shot ourselves in the foot some with penalties, with blown assignments. There's been popcorn. It hadn't been any one man specifically. It's been popcorn. But you can't have popcorn and think that you're going to win close ball games like the one that we were just in.
So what did popcorn ever do to him? And what is popcorn? Because when I think of it, I think of a lot of little lovely things.
I'm going to give him credit because I've been very critical of Mike Tomlin. But what he is saying is it's not the meal, it's the popcorn. It's the little stupid stuff that we can correct little stupid stuff. Oh. If we had a bad offensive line, we're screwed. If we had no pass rush, we're done. But it's penalties, it's late hits, it's popcorn. It's not the entree, it's popcorn. You know what? He's right about that. I'll say this. Pittsburgh is absolutely one of the top 5 most talented teams in the league. Absolutely. Who in this league has Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell? Those are like stars. Yeah. They can score on anybody. They gave Dallas fits. Their problem is the popcorn. They're just not buttoned up. It's not like they lack talent. They have too much popcorn.
Do you like popcorn?
It's all over the floor. I eat it constantly. Don't golf. Popcorn's
okay. Messy, gritty.
Do you golf?
No.
Oh, that's funny. Why wouldn't you golf? Because you're a grinder.
I have a lot of better things to do.
Yeah, you're a grinder. You're a grinder.
Plus, I tried like twice. It's impossible.
It takes forever, and you become obsessed with golf.
Obsessed.
Owen said we were good at it. We just do it.
I don't want. If I drive out of there and ever see you on that golf course across the street, I'm going to HR.
That's a nice.
I'm going to have
course,
you removed from payroll.
I would love to see the reasons why. Conor McGregor is responding to Floyd Mayweather. Remember I showed you yesterday, Floyd said that he didn't see Conor MGregor's fight, didn't even know he was fighting.
Oh, so they caught up with Conor?
Yeah, so TMZ caught up with Conor, and here's his reaction.
So I got Floyd yesterday, right? He said he didn't see your fight. Do you believe him? You believe him? I don't know. But he compared you to an ant. He said he's an elephant. Time to say it to my face.
Much respect for Floyd. He's a solid businessman. What he has been able to do, he is a animal at what he has been able to do. But as far as real fighting, as far as true, pure, in-ring combat, Floyd don't want none of this. I want 100 million cash to fight him under boxing rules because he's afraid of a real fight.
100 million cash. Do you think that's reasonable?
Is that how they pay you? They bring out a big bucket
of cash.
How about just take a check there?
No, but even a check for 100 million, you think that's reasonable?
Listen, if they put the money out, they'll do it. I don't think Floyd Mayweather has much to win. He's unbeaten. He's got all the money in the world. Now, Conor McGregor could lose the fight and make the money. It's good for him. Because it would have been a spectacle and an exhibition. He could say, hey, I had to go by boxing's rules. Of course I didn't win. I had to go by boxing rules. If Floyd goes by boxing rules and gets knocked out, it absolutely invalidates some of his career. It's like he's not a tough guy. He's just a tactician.
No, right. What's interesting, though, is do you know how much money Conor McGregor made in his last fight against Nate Diaz?
I don't know.
$3 million. So he's asking for $100 million.
What did he make in the last fight?
We don't know yet. The numbers aren't out yet. And I guess in New York, they don't release the salary of the fighters for some reason. So we'll probably get an estimate at some point. But $3 million is what he made for his last fight. So $100 million is quite the jump.
Yeah.
I think he would probably settle for 40, 30. It's a lot more than 3. And finally, there are some records out of UFC 205, all the records broken in that fight, including the live gate at 17.7 million, attendance over 20,000, the weigh-in attendance got over 15,000, which is a new global UFC record, the FS1 prelims. Here's the crazy one. Social media impressions, 14 billion social media impressions.
Billion.
That includes things like tweets, likes, responses.
14 billion.
Billion, which is the most in UFC history. Just to kind of compare that to something that we can understand, how many do you think the Super Bowl had impressions?
5 billion.
4.3.
So the UFC fight had 14 billion social media impressions.
Yes.
The Super Bowl had 1/3 of that.
Yeah. Insane. That means more people were
Do you know how many
interactive with
you know how
UFC?
many old grumpy media guys I've been battling for years on this UFC? I'm like, newspaper guys, this is why you stayed at newspapers for 20 years when they were dying. You have no sense of business. UFC has been the most obvious buy in ours. The Northeast media wouldn't even cover this for years because newspaper guys are old, cranky, and want to talk American League Central baseball standings. This UFC thing's been on fire for a decade, and big chunks of the American media just don't pay attention.
And people love it. I think people are even
14
surprised
billion
that they love it.
impressions?
Yeah.
It's killed boxing, and it makes wrestling look goofier than it's ever looked.
Really goofy.
Let's bring out the Undertaker. 60.
That's the news.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
All right, this will be interesting. Let's bring in Joel Klatt, who last week, UFC Washington, was one of the best broadcasts in the history of the company.
Thank you.
Oh, it was great. You and Gus were unbelievable.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was drunk, but it sounded great. No, you guys were
That's the key.
You were fantastic last
Appreciate
week. You were really good. This week, Washington State, Colorado, which will be the best game in the country. Nobody understands.
Nobody understands it. Both of them division leaders right now in the Pac-12 North and Pac-12 South. And Colorado with an outside shot at the playoff because they're going to have a ranked team this week, a ranked team next week in Utah, and then a potential Pac-12 championship.
They play real defense.
They do play real defense. Got to give a lot of credit to Jim Leavitt. People remember him as the South Florida coach.
Yes.
Gotten a little bit of trouble with how he handled some players down there.
Yeah.
But he's the defensive coordinator for Colorado. He's done a remarkable job with Colorado in their turnaround.
All right, so the top 6 teams from the committee, first 4 and the 2 out. Let's go look at Joel Klatt's top 6 teams. Alabama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan, Washington, and Clemson. So you really think Louisville's got all those NFL bodies like Clemson and LSU and all those?
No, but in college football, it's even more of a quarterback-centric sport. Unless you're great everywhere, it's a quarterback-centric sport. And Lamar Jackson's the best player in college football. He alone makes them the 3rd best team in the country, at least the way I see it right now.
All right, so here's my argument with all this stuff, and I'll
in general, the committee,
you're
the
fine.
rankings.
Your stuff's fine. I can disagree, but it's mostly you got the big dogs up there. Vegas has LSU 3rd and USC 6th.
Yeah,
and Vegas doesn't care about your record. Vegas says USC poleaxed Washington. You were there. They pushed them around the field.
Well, listen, if this is my entire problem with the committee, and you have to understand in the genesis of the playoff, Colin, the 4 best language was pressed upon them by the SEC. That was an SEC thing. Okay,
they didn't want just records.
No. They didn't want 4 most deserving. No. We want the 4 best teams because we're going to get 2 teams in there. Now, they didn't realize that the majority of their league was going to fall apart for the most part, and Alabama was going to remain very tough. And at the time, the Big Ten was so weak that no one would have thought they would be the first league that got 2 teams into the playoff. That looks like what's going to happen. But if you were going to say just, hey, 4 best, USC's right there. Because there's only 2 teams in the country that I think would beat USC right now, and that's Ohio State and Alabama.
I totally agree with you. Everybody else, you go to Vegas and ask them, everybody else plays them, USC's a pick 'em, it's close. See, here's my problem with college football, and I love college football, and I've never been an extended playoff guy. But let me throw this at you, Joe Klatt. Okay. That if you live in Nashville, and you watch the Titans for the first month, they were 1-3, never scored more than 20. If you live in Nashville and have watched the Titans, our friend Clay Travis has watched the Titans for the last 5 weeks.
Oh, I know. He tweets about it incessantly.
Yeah, they're averaging about 30 a game. It's a completely different team. That same guy in Nashville who would be mad if Colin Cowherd didn't acknowledge they're a better team now.
Right.
Wants to hold the Bama USC game against them for 4 months.
I agree with you 100%. See, the problem isn't the playoff, and it's not even the committee. Okay, you can't look at the symptom right now. You got to look at the root of the cause. What's the virus with college football? It's a broken structure.
That's right.
College football is completely chaotic. There's no commissioner. There's no equity across schedules. Every conference behaves and acts in their own best interest because they want to. Remember back in, I think it was right before the season, and I compared this, and I'm going to do it again, lack of better judgment, I guess. The college football operates right now like our country did right after the revolution before the Constitutional Convention, when the states had too much power and they operated on an island, so they didn't abide by international law, so on and so forth. So what the Constitutional Convention did was put an umbrella over the states and said, we're a nation and we're going to act as one moving forward, in particular internationally. College football needs that desperately. They need an organizing body, a commissioner, and 3 or 4 other people.
Boxing did not have one. It killed them.
It killed itself.
Dana
UFC
White
has it, and they're flourishing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the reality with college football is the schedules are so. I think you should have a schedules are.
Oh, no doubt.
A schedule.
I can fix a schedule right now. Do you mind? I've got it right.
Okay,
do you mind?
Go ahead.
If every conference looked the same, meaning same number of teams, same number of divisions, all you would have to do is you would have 2 home games in the non-conference against regional lower division teams.
2 in your region.
In your region,
so
you're
Washington
help out with
could
their
play
budgets.
Who?
Portland State and Eastern Washington. Okay. So 2 lower division teams. Then you're going to play 2 non-conference games against other Power 5 teams, but the relationship is going to be where'd you finish last year, just like the NFL. First place against first place because the Pac-12 South is going to match up with the Big Ten East next year, and you're going to play on campus. So that's your other 2 non-conference games is against conference. Nobody out of Alabama go play Stanford on the farm or in Tuscaloosa because guess what? They won their divisions and play each other in the non-conference. It is broken, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to fix college football. Not fix the playoff.
Joel Klatt joining us this week, Washington State at Colorado. Yeah, I've never been, it just always bothers me that the only sport in America where you're not allowed to improve is college football.
Yeah. Not allowed at all.
No. College basketball. You can go
again where you get into, imagine this in college basketball. Imagine if the March Madness committee, they got together and 6 weeks prior to the tournament, they released their field of 60. Everyone would think that is insanely stupid. And yet in football, the committee gets in a room and releases their rankings every week.
And it's 4.
It's insanely stupid. Listen, I understand job.
Because I think they have more NFL bodies.
And I think that we're headed for a time or a place in this playoff this year where we're setting ourselves up for 2 conferences to get left out. And here's the scenario. The scenario is very easy. Ohio State wins out, and they're likely going to be in the playoff. That means you're going to have to take likely in Wisconsin.
Okay, by the way, Penn State, gutty team, they won't embarrass themselves.
They have improved.
Absolutely, like their quarterback.
James Franklin has done a good job, but that means that you're going to have potentially a 1-loss, let's call it West Virginia, or a Big 12 champion, and a 1-loss Washington that could potentially win the Pac-12 and be left out for a 2-loss Big Fair right now.
Oh, so do I. Vegas has them 6. Vegas has LSU number 3 in their poll.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm going to throw this at you. How about this curveball?
I couldn't hit the curveball in the minor league baseball, but go ahead.
we always acknowledge Saban's a step ahead of everybody.
Yes.
Okay, this is where Saban's so smart. A month ago, he hired Steve Sarkisian. And we're like, kind of wacky.
Sure.
But I think you suggested it was keep away. So Ed Orgeron can recruit toe-to-toe with Nick. He can. Ed Orgeron can coach defense.
Yep.
That Ed Orgeron will hire Steve Sarkisian to run his offense. And Alabama, now that's real now. Because you've got to have an offense. I think, my personal opinion, Sark's a better coach than Lane Kiffin. I believe that.
I think he is as well. He's a better head coach than Lane.
Is he a better coordinator?
I would say they're about even. Okay. Both very creative.
Okay.
And with a structure of a defensive-oriented head coach, both would flourish.
Everybody thinks I'm crazy with Ed Orgeron. But if Ed could completely relinquish the offense to Sark, you don't want to play LSU.
Well, listen,
Sark's a great recruiter, too.
I thought that was one of the reasons why Nick hired him at Alabama, was so that
keep him away.
When all of a sudden either Les or Cam Cameron got the tank, and ended up both of them did, that they couldn't bring in Sark in the middle of the year. I think it was make him an analyst. He helps your team. He knows Lane, all those different things. They've done a remarkable job. Alabama's so far and away better than everybody else in the country.
It's not close.
It's not even close. And you give Nick Saban a lot of credit. He's done a marvelous job of continuing to develop that program. He's doing this with a true freshman quarterback.
And he's evolving. I'll give Nick a lot of credit. When you watch their offense now, he's clearly given Kiffin a lot of freedom. Multiple looks.
Yeah.
Multiple sets. Alabama is running right now as sophisticated an SEC offense. Very clever. I mean, they came out the other day and against Mississippi State in the first 2 series, and I'm like, it looked like Canadian football. Yeah. I mean, they got multiple sets.
Just think how good they're going to be a year from now when Jalen Hurts is like more experienced. I mean, they're just scratching the surface with this guy at the quarterback position. He's a special player. I don't know. If anyone beats Alabama, it's going to be a severe upset. We'll see if that happens potentially in the playoffs. Certainly nobody in the SEC is not going to do it. Auburn's not going to touch him. And the SEC East champ is barely better than the ACC Coastal champ at this point. They're just garbage in the SEC East.
Okay, we got to go.
Okay. Almost upset?
I'm very busy. I'm up against the clock.
Real quick.
Okay, do your almost upset of the week. Let me get. I'm not even just go ahead.
Guess it. Go
ahead.
TCU over Oklahoma State. Why are you upset with that? That's a good one. What? TCU, watch out. Watch out for TCU.
That's not even an upset.
TCU's unranked. Oklahoma State is 11th.
They're both of them don't play any defense. So it's going to be like 60-58.
Gary Patterson's team absolutely plays defense because they've improved. I'll take the argument you used 5 minutes ago and use it against you in this 10 minutes of wrong once again.
Joel Klatt.
Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
This was cordial this week.
Yeah, not so much for me.
Well, at the end, it got a little hairy.
DraftKings is the destination for 1 week fantasy football. The destination. Okay, every week is a brand new season. So if you go into the toilet and you're circling the drain, don't worry about it. Just start it over. All you have to do, you pick your contest, draft your team, follow the action live, DraftKings.com. Been around for a couple of years now, right? Renew old rivalries. Play with friends if you're not very good. They have a 50-50 contest where every one of the top 50% win cash. And at DraftKings.com, 700th place, 800th place can win money. I'm not saying $1 million, but you can win money. enough to play the next week. DraftKings.com, use the code HERD. And if you use the code HERD, you play for free with your first deposit. DraftKings.com, code HERD. $100,000 in total prizes available this weekend. DraftKings.com, eligibility restrictions may apply. May. See site for details. In Interstate, the car, battery, auto, text, prefer. Find a location near you at interstatebatteries.com. Outrageously dependable, Interstate Batteries. So last night, the Lakers clobbered the Brooklyn Nets. Julius Randle had a triple-double. D'Angelo Russell had 32 points. Mozgov had 20 points. The Lakers are now 7-5 on the NBA season. And one of the things we like to do on this show is get a jump on the competition to see stories before they truly develop. A lot of people wait to react. We always try to be proactive, so we are introducing our Western Playoff Preview this morning.
The Herd Western Conference Playoff Preview.
So if the NBA playoffs started today, the Lakers, home court advantage, actually they face the Warriors. And so this is the Western Conference playoff picture this morning, the Lakers and the Warriors. And let's look at their season series. Fairly lopsided. Steph Curry has not hit a single three-pointer all season against the Lakers. And Klay Thompson has been held to the season average is 10 points. Julius Randle is averaging 20 points and shooting almost 56%. Lou Williams off the bench is shooting 50%. So the Lakers are averaging in the season series 20 more points a game than the Warriors, 117-97. This is a complete mismatch. I will take the Lakers in a sweep over the Warriors based on the season series. And that has been our Western Conference Playoff Preview.
That was great work, Colin.
Appreciate it. Like to see those stories before everybody else does. Steph doesn't have a three against the Lakers all year.
It's a travesty.
Julius Randle averaging a double-double in the season series. I'll tell you this, though, man. They're fun to watch.
I went last night.
Oh, Cole, did you get your free tickets again?
No, they're not free tickets, Colin.
Would you? Anyway, you have season tickets. So would you give me what was it like there last night? What was your impressions of the team? You have one impression, I know for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you say that on the air?
Yeah, I'll say it.
Okay.
But first, I'll start with the positive. I've been, obviously, to lots of Lakers seasons and all the games.
Yeah.
It's just a different energy. The celebrities are starting to come back.
All right.
But it just feels cleaner and fresher. It's not all about Kobe. It's about the team. And I feel like the real Laker fans are back. And there's just a good energy. Like the team all high-fives each other, and they're really happy.
Except one guy.
Except... It's really funny if you watch D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young, their interactions on the court, like after one of them scores, it's still very awkward. And it looks like Nick Young is the outsider.
Nick Young is the outsider on this roster. It's a very, very interesting roster. Not very good defensively, but if you watch them play, it's fascinating how the psychology and the spacing and the energy is completely different.
Yeah.
So Nick Young's my least favorite NBA player in the history of the league. And he's a goofball. And so... he and D'Angelo Russell, here's what I believe the Lakers are doing. I believe they're starting him and playing him to move his numbers up. And I think what the Lakers are trying to do is get rid of Nick Young. And at the All-Star break, they can say, we started him, he averaged, what is Nick Young averaging right now in this offense? 10, 12 points. They're going to try to move Nick Young. And they know they're not going to the playoffs. So in the first half of the season, they want to celebrate Nick and let Nick score and put him in the offense and move his averages up. And how many years left does he have? He has this year and next year. He's an expiring contract at the end of the next year. That's what I think the Lakers are trying to do. Showcase him now and get rid of him. And
it is very clear, though. It's awkward. D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young, the interactions. If one of them scores and the other, looking for a high five, it's just, no thanks.
So speaking of the Western Conference playoff preview, I'm going to the Warriors-Lakers day after Thanksgiving.
How are you?
But unlike you, I probably have to pay for my tickets.
That's not true.
That is true.
That's not true.
You know what?
You're paying for your tickets? No way.
I'm not a freeloader.
Look at your smile.
I'm not.
You're lying.
They're doing back to back,
you shouldn't be hired
right?
because you're lying.
They are back-to-back.
There's a day in between, but they're playing each other 2 games in a row.
Wednesday and Friday, yeah. First one's in the Bay, second one's in L.A.
You know where I am going, though, this weekend?
Where?
To the Bulls game against the Lakers.
Where's that game at?
I'm not going to Chicago.
Well, you're from
it's
there.
Here. Yeah.
So the Lakers host the Bulls this weekend?
Yeah. on Sunday. You should go.
Afternoon or night?
6 o'clock. You could do that.
There's so much to do in LA.
So
like
much.
31 music venues. I got 2. Now USC's playing well. The Rams are starting Jared Goff against Miami. Wow. There's a lot to do this weekend. Bulls in town.
Yeah.
Next week, Warriors in town. A lot to do here. All right, last hour of the show is coming up. I want to thank Ray. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. So yesterday I led my show on Phil Jackson calling LeBron James and his guys his posse. And then I tried to stay off social media. I went on it for about 3 minutes yesterday, and it was just all race talk, race talk, race talk. One of the things I said yesterday, I didn't want to get involved in the racial topic. I did not want to get involved in the racial topic. I don't think the word posse is racist. But there are a lot of words that aren't necessarily racist, but how do you use it and what is it intended to say? That's different. And when Phil Jackson, a really smart guy, calls LeBron James' associates his posse, I don't think it was meant as a slur. I think it was meant as a dig, that they're insignificant. They're just guys hooking them up with cars. Now, that's how it landed for me. That's also LeBron James. It clearly landed that way for LeBron James. Again, so many people on the internet are saying, that's racist. Well, the word's not racist, posse, or I wouldn't say it right now. But there are words. When do you use them? How do you use them? Who do you connect them to? And so, I mean, if a hockey guy gets into a fight and I call him a thug, I don't think that word is innately racist. There are times I've heard that word used, and I think it implies racial overtones. Okay, but if a hockey guy, Ty Domi was a thug, I don't think the word is a slur, but it can be used in instances where it's more consequential. So here's LeBron James reacting to Phil Jackson, calling LeBron's guys his posse.
Zero. No relationship at all. I had nothing but respect for him as a coach, for what he's able to do, obviously, at the helm of one of my favorite players of all time, MJ, and also been there growing up and watching with the Lakers, but I got nothing for him.
Okay, now you can claim he shouldn't be offended, but people are offended by different things. This is personal to him. That's how it landed for LeBron. Carmelo Anthony right now, whose general manager is Phil Jackson, this will be tough on radio, but on television, because you're going to hear basketball bouncing, here's how it landed for Carmelo Anthony. He didn't like it either.
I would never want to hear that. Kind of elaborate about me and my, I don't want to say cool, but, people that I consider, family and people that I come up with and doing things they could do, and I wouldn't be, I want to be part of a tight-knit group or family. But that's what I consider, those people. So anybody will understand that. Anybody, I don't think you have to be a rocket science or, an educated person to understand kind of what that means to us.
So Carmelo says, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand what it means to us. Not you, white guy. To us. African American. That's how it lands for us. Don't pretend everything lands the same for everybody. When Trump got elected, some people cried. I didn't cry. It landed differently for different people. But you go to the internet and everybody thinks everything lands the same. Now, Maverick Carter came on our show yesterday. One of LeBron's 4 business partners, high school buddies. And Maverick Carter came on and he said, I understand when we broke into the league, people saying, who are these dudes? He goes, but we're 12 years in now. We have created a brand that is empirical, that is the best domestically in America. Using that word now on us was you were trying to make a point, Phil Jackson. Here's Maverick Carter.
I'm no way calling Phil Jackson a racist, but I think the word is disrespectful and demeaning. I was talking to the owner of the Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert, who rolls around with 15 every game. It's his wife and his kids, but it's also his best friends. They're his partners. And he says no one ever refers to us as a posse. So I took it more as demeaning. I didn't take it as like a racial slur.
Okay, so I didn't take it as a slur either. Maverick Carter did not take it as a slur. Some may have. I did not. But Phil Jackson can't get conveniently dumb. Well, I didn't think anything. You knew exactly how it landed. This story is about Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, the power brokers in the NBA, now reaching 70, are having to relinquish power. And that's a very difficult thing for older people to do. They don't like to do it. They've been in power forever. Pat Riley's been in power in this league for 30 years. Phil Jackson's been in power in this league for 30 years. And they just don't like the way the game's played now. LeBron comes out of high school with his 4 guys, and they do their homework, and they don't go to a big agency, and they don't use a Harvard attorney, and they don't go to Wall Street. They do it themselves. And people don't like that. I remember when I got into television. I can remember this. So I get into television, and there were like 2 or 3 people you were supposed to use. And I was told, use them. And I'm like, no, I don't want to use them. I'm not going to give them 10%. I'm not going to use those people. Now, as I have gone through my career, I've had agents, I've lost agents, I've been agent-free. Then eventually you find the perfect agent, which I have now. But it was a process. And what I didn't like is being told I had to use people. My dad was a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor. My dad wanted to be a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. And so I totally get the LeBron group. Is what they did, they've changed the league. LeBron, smarter than the average bear here, said, guys, we got to team up here. You do get the rich owners and GMs and the presidents, the Pat Rileys and the Phils, they're controlling us. And people are coming to the games to see us, not them. Why are they making all the money and have all the control? We're the ones everybody's coming to see. So LeBron James went to D. Wade, Chris Bosh, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. Said, guys, we got to shift the paradigm here. We do not go to an agency. We create an agency. We do not go to that lawyer. We have a guy in our group. He'll be the lawyer. We do not give away 10% to an agency. We create our own agency, and we get players like Ben Simmons. They have shifted it, and the old guys in this league don't like it because it always worked that way. Now, I've been in this business now 30 years. And I have been told so many times, you got to use this person, you got to use that person, you got to use this agency, you got to use that agency. It's almost a racket. And LeBron's like, no, I'm the best basketball player in the world. Me and my guys, we're doing it differently. This was not a racial story as much to me. It was a power story. And Phil and Pat have lost power. They don't like it. It's nearing the end. And LeBron has it, and he seized it, and he's passed it along to other players. And I think a lot of people in this league are very, very uncomfortable. The NBA community is a very small community, largely run by 5 guys. The commissioner, Jerry Colangelo for years, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, 1 or 2 of the owners. They ran the league for years. And now the players run the league. I don't like it. The players run the league. One of the scariest things in the NBA is when Jay-Z said, I'm going to have an agency. Let me tell you something. That reverberated around the league for months. Nobody liked that because they knew Jay-Z was going to be closer to the players than they were. Every agent in the NBA was petrified of that. Hurt their business. Speaking of business, the LA Rams are finally going to start Jared Goff this Sunday. They could have picked easier teams. The Miami Dolphins just beat San Diego, stayed in Los Angeles, drove up the 405, and now, I imagine, are favored over the Rams. Said from the beginning, you have a game plan, stick to your game plan. Don't watch the Eagles. Don't watch the Broncos. Don't watch the Buccaneers. You run your business. And Jeff Fisher said, I'm running my business. Jared Goff's not ready to start. Now he is. And here's what Jeff Fisher said yesterday.
It was just Jared's, his progress and the progression week after week after week. Preparing to be a 2, preparing, to be a play away from going in. And, when he got we got the reps, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They were right. They were good. They were good decisions, and so it was time.
Here's the thing. I'm not at practice, and you're not at practice. We know that Jared Goff is probably more talented than Case Keenum. We've watched the tape. We've seen his size. He's a little taller, got a really nice arm. And think about this. Look at how much Tennessee has improved as a football team from week 1, 2, 3, 4 to week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Tennessee's a different football team. Well, isn't it possible the Jared Goff you saw in his first week on HBO is better now? Tom Brady, when he was drafted, wasn't good as Tom Brady a year later. Wasn't as good as Tom Brady 2 years later. Jared Goff wakes up every morning, watches film, goes to practice, watches more film. He's at that facility for 10 to 12 hours a day. The HBO Jared Goff is not the Jared Goff Jeff Fisher is seeing now. This is one of these areas where I don't have an opinion on it until I see Jared Goff play. How can I have an opinion? I haven't watched the practices. I've got 30 seconds of practice tape. But I know this. I have, over the course of my career, had shows and new shows. And in every show I've done, from this show to Speak for Yourself to Sports Nation, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get it rolling. The critics all want to judge a show after one show. Critics want to watch a show and go, there's the show. Every show I've done, I need about 6 to 8 weeks to build chemistry, feel comfortable. The producers get the directors, get the talent, get the floor people, get the writers. Jared Goff now is 3 months, 10 hours a day, removed from the HBO Jared Goff. My guess is he's better now. And if Case Keenum's averaging 6 to 9 points a week of offense, my guess is they're going to score more than that, or he wouldn't play him. So I think we're forgetting the Tennessee Titans are a different football team from the first month. Why can't Jared Goff be a different football player from the first month? Doesn't that make sense? 10 hours a day? I mean, if you're starting a new job, ask yourself, you're a sales guy. Your first week and your 10th week, you're like a different sales guy. You know the product, you know your territory, you know your boss, you know what you can get away with, you know what you can't. Let's just watch the game. I can't have a strong opinion on this. Let's just watch the game. This time of the year can get a little cray, pulling you in 15 directions. At once, here's my advice. To help make your holidays as stress-free as possible, get your bulk items delivered right to your door at Boxed.com. Just to erase confusion, B-O-X-E-D, Boxed.com. Okay, Boxed.com, easiest schedule remaining.
Number 3.
Dallas Cowboys have the best record and best point differential. They don't make other offenses uncomfortable.
Number 2.
New England. They're built to win a playoff game, and they're built to win in cold weather. They're 4-0 on the road, and they've got an easier schedule down the stretch.
Number 1.
Seattle. I love the way Russell Wilson played. He's finally healthy. Now he's got a perimeter star in Doug Baldwin. They've got a pass rush. They're deep at running back. They get to the quarterback. The most complete team in the NFL. Great to have you in. The big story today was Tony Romo. I'll get to that in a little bit. Christine just asked me the strangest question out of nowhere that I've ever been asked doing this show. Christine looked at me and goes... Christine looked at me and literally said, do you like gravy? I'm like, that's random.
It was, but then you started really going into detail about it, and then Goulet got involved. So it's a good conversation starter.
I don't seek gravy out, but occasionally...
it comes to you.
Right, but I would never order gravy. I don't ever wake up in the morning thinking, God, I got a thirst for gravy. I've never once in my life wanted gravy, but if it accompanies something like dressing, then I would, like dressing by itself is dry.
Disgusting.
So, yeah, but I've never once had a craving for
Gravy.
Yeah, every morning
turkey.
every morning I have one of these things. Okay, it's like it's a juice. It's a green. Now it doesn't look very good there.
That's disgusting.
No, see, but I crave that. And then I have a coffee every morning. I crave that.
Right.
And then in the afternoon I have a small sandwich. I'm hungry. I crave that. At night I have a cocktail. I crave that.
Mm-hmm.
I've never once craved gravy.
Well, if you think about it, it's like the fat parts of the meat mixed with like some sauce. That's disgusting. If you really think about gravy.
Well, a lot of things are disgusting. Taking a bath is disgusting. You're soaking in your dirt.
That's why you have to shower first and then get in the bath.
Nobody does that.
I do.
You're a weirdo.
You're
shaking hands. No, I mean shaking hands is disgusting.
It is.
It's disgusting. Guys come up to me all the time. They're like shaking hands. I'm like, fist bump. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
Who wants to shake? It's your germs. You've been picking whatever. I don't want any part of it. You ever done a radio remote? Every goober stands his hand out. Oh, good God. I got 30 salespeople here that want to shake my hand. I don't know where they've been.
I thought you were going to
I have no idea what they did in the last hour. They could have, you know what? They could have had their hand in gravy for an hour. I don't want to shake anybody's hand. Taking a bath's gross. Shaking hands is gross. Gravy. A lot of stuff we do is gross.
These microphones are probably really gross.
Disgusting. You ever
spit on them.
You ever sit in a plane and watch or smell or listen to somebody next to you for 5 hours? Like it's one thing to fly from L.A. to Vegas. Sit next to somebody for 6 hours on a flight. It's not healthy.
Have you ever thought about where your head leans back onto?
When's the last time you were in a hotel bed?
Oh, can I really fast? I just read this thing. They did a test where they put like a sticky note inside the sheets and booked the hotel under 3 different names for 3 different nights. Never changed the sheets in most hotels. For 3 different stays.
That's why I sleep in my clothes at a Marriott. That's right there.
Or bring your own sheets.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff we do and we just take for granted.
You would never buy a used mattress, but you'll pay $300 to sleep on one for one night.
Yeah, it's weird. By the way, can I just point out that this conversation is all happening because I asked you if you liked gravy?
Yeah. Well, that's weird. It's kind of crazy.
I'm telling you, it's a conversation starter.
So last night, I did something that I now regret. I could have watched NBA action. I could have broken down NFL film. I could have spent time with the family. But instead, I made a choice, and it was a terrible one. So last night, because I follow the United States men's national team, and they were playing Costa Rica in a qualifying game, I went and watched that at a bar with Alexi Lawless and his beautiful wife and his friends. And it was 2 hours of hell, because we're terrible. I barely like the country right now. We are awful, and they're going to fire Jurgen Klinsmann. And I have defended Klinsmann forever. But for years and years, here's what I know about soccer fans. Soccer fans have this little body armor, this little shell built around them because they feel that the media doesn't respect them. I have tried to show my love for soccer fans. I have tried to not be one of those sportscasters who doesn't acknowledge soccer. I am not an expert, much like UFC, but I've embraced soccer and I've embraced the UFC because, number one, they're good for my business, and number two, I find UFC interesting. Not every fight, but Conor McGregor, yes. Ronda Rousey, yes. I don't find all soccer captivating, but the United States men's national team, I find captivating. It's my country, it's my team, and I follow them. Now, I'm not a soccer expert, but I was never a musical expert. I could watch American Idol and tell you Carrie Underwood's really good. It is not hard to see great, folks. You could have seen A-Rod in high school. You would have known he's a Major League Baseball player. You could have seen LeBron James at 16. I did on TV and knew he was going to be a star. I saw Tiger Woods at a junior and knew he would be great. I'm not a golf pro. Great is not hard to spot, and we don't have much great. And I've been saying for years, in football, to win big, you got to control the line of scrimmage. In soccer, to win big, you have to control the midfield. We're not good in the midfield. We're pedestrian, and we are average. Germany's not, Brazil's not, Argentina's not, Belgium's not, Ecuador, Chile's not, Portugal's not. We are average at midfield. We're not creative. We're pedestrian. And last night we got smoked. 4-0. Qualifying match. We may not make the World Cup. And you know what? I don't know if it's the coach, but I know this. I don't have to be a soccer expert. The New York Times this morning, they cover soccer year-round. What was their second line in the story? The midfield had little presence. Thank you. Josh, Ethan, all you 16-year-old soccer kids, I know I look like an old man who likes baseball. You don't have to be an expert to see great. Christian Pulisic is a great talent. Michael Bradley at midfield, no presence. You cannot beat Belgium, Germany, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru. You're not beating those countries with what we offer at midfield. You're just a football team with a flimsy line. That's all you are. You're a football team that's great on the perimeter. Why are the Cowboys good? Not Des Bryant. They roll over you at the line of scrimmage. Why are the Raiders good? It's not Amari Cooper. It's the offensive line. Why are the Seahawks good? Trenches. We have no midfield presence. Therefore, we may not make the World Cup. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
The Spurs announced that they are going to retire Tim Duncan's jersey number 21 on December 18th. They'll do a post-game ceremony. I'm really worried about Greg Popovich. He's been very sad so far this year about not having Tim Duncan around, so I think he's going to be sad. He, I think, is the perfect example of a big man, right? One of the best big men.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay. One of the not-so-good examples of a big man is Dwight Howard. And he has a new take on what he would like to do to alter his game.
Passion is something that we all work on every day in practice. You know what? It's going to happen. You know, it's the beginning of the season. I do want to shoot some threes. I think, you know, that just expand everything for myself and for this team. But right now, my team needs me to dominate the paint.
He wants to shoot more three-pointers.
Yeah.
What makes him think, and I usually defend Dwight Howard, but what makes him think if he can't hit a free throw that he can hit a three?
Okay, so ask yourself, Tim Duncan and Dwight Howard, one is a legend, one is a disappointment.
Yes.
Do you think the difference between the two is talent?
No.
Either do I. Why is one a legend and one an underachiever?
I have my theory.
What is your theory?
My theory is that Dwight Howard doesn't love basketball as much as Tim Duncan does.
I think that's a big part of it. And this goes to what I say. When you watch Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, everybody thinks it's DNA. Was LeBron James' dad a great basketball player? No. Was Tim Duncan's dad a great basketball player? Tim Duncan and Dwight Howard, juxtapose those two. Duncan's one of the 10 best players of all time. Dwight Howard is one of the 10 best center talents in the last 20 years. Look at their careers. Dwight Howard's talking about shooting threes. And Tim Duncan just retired with 5 titles. You think it's DNA. You think there's a million guys in this country that are 6'6". There was one Michael Jordan. You win all these titles above the shoulders. Mm-hmm. Your aspiration, your drive, your focus, your will. The fact that he's worried about three-pointers, oh, good God.
For the record, I don't think that all players have to have basketball be their number one love. I think that we just are frustrated with Dwight Howard because he had so much potential.
I think it has to be your number one love during your career.
I don't think so.
Well, it could be number 3 behind cooking gravy. You better love basketball.
No, what if, I mean, maybe he likes his family life.
Well, everybody loves their family. That's a given.
More than his job.
Well, okay, by the way, so does every coach that Nick Saban beats by 30.
Yes, so there's a place for those type of people, but there are also a place for people...
Unemployed?
No, they're just not the greatest. They're kind of midline.
All right. If you want to be midline, okay.
Conor McGregor's coach, John Kavanagh, is suggesting 2 potential opponents for McGregor's next fight.
Mm-hmm.
One of them would be Nate Diaz. It would be the trilogy fight, and they would fight at 155. The last 2 times they fought, it was at 170, and they've split those. So it would be for the title. How big do you think this would be if we saw this for a 3rd time?
It would be gigantic. It wouldn't be as good as Floyd Mayweather, but it would be gigantic. McGregor-Diaz would be a great fight. Mayweather-McGregor would be an awful fight, but that would be more of a fireworks show. The Diaz-McGregor is as good a fight as I've seen in years.
Yeah. I don't want to see it too played out. I feel like maybe we could wait a little while.
That's what Dana White thinks.
Yeah, because we've seen them fight twice now. I do think it should be settled considering that they're split, but I'd rather see McGregor fight some other people. And 30 pounds. We're talking about a 30-pound difference for Nate Diaz. That you have to be a different fighter and learn your body at a 30-pound difference.
Yeah.
And finally, you're going to love this one. A Browns executive says RG3 is on pace to play again this season.
That's fine.
This also comes on the news. A Browns VP says he believes there's a much brighter future ahead for the Browns.
Yeah, I think if he's healthy, let him play. I mean, I don't care about the Browns, but if RG3's he's better than Cody Kessler, right?
No, for sure, let him play. I mean, are the Browns just delusional? I feel like at a certain point, if you're just delusional, you got to go.
Yeah.
Let's get someone.
I thought we made a rule in the show we're not going to talk Cleveland Browns.
We can be done now.
Okay.
I'm good.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
You know,
News.
it is funny that I thought earlier today, can we play that Cam Newton bite again? It really is interesting that of the one thing you and I agree on a lot of stuff, and we disagree on a lot of stuff, but it is funny how you and I have completely, Nick Wright's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Nick Wright is a complete believer in celebrations.
Yeah.
And you're a complete, now you're both younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really funny about this. There are certain things, like when you go on a date, now I can't speak for women, but if a guy is listening to me or watching me right now and you go on a date, okay, aren't there certain things, regardless of her appearance or her intelligence, if you found out in the first 2 or 3 hours, they would be like, oh, I'm not going there.
Sure.
Now, I can't say what those things are, but there are certain things that if a woman goes on a date with a guy, and he is charming, and he's handsome, and he's sweet, but he does say during dinner, I've got to be honest, I cannot keep a job. She's probably checking him off the marriage list.
Yes.
Okay, it's the same thing if you could be the nicest person in the world, but if you're knocking down about 9 Marlboros an hour, probably not going to marry a chain smoker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Seriously. I'd just be like, check that one off the list. My thing about celebrations, that any player who fights for them, that they hold any value, it's one thing if you celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I had my daughter, I could not contain my emotions. There was like a minute there where I was like, oh my gosh, look what I created. I mean, my body temperature changed.
Yeah.
There is a difference between Tom Brady scores the game-winning touchdown and celebrates. There's a difference between that and celebrations meaning a lot to you. Again, I don't wait to get a paycheck and go buy lottery tickets. It means nothing. But I bought a lottery ticket. Like I've literally gone into a convenience store, bought purchased a water, and then said, oh, there's a lottery ticket. It's up to $300 million. I'll buy one. But I don't wake up in the morning thinking, I get paid on Thursday. I got to go to the Piggly Wiggly and buy my $150 of lottery tickets. There's a big difference between those two. And that's the thing with celebrations. It's one, if you celebrate, it's fine. But if they mean something to you, that's all I need to know about you as a player.
Well, how do you know if it means something?
Because Cam Newton said this. So let's listen to Cam Newton. Celebrations mean something to Cam Newton. I'm out. Here he is.
Football is hard, man. I can't stress it enough. It's just this tough sport. It's physical. Scoring a touchdown, getting a sack, getting a win, let alone all that bottled up and staying here at 10 at night, here at 6 a.m. in the morning. Everything, all the energy that you put, spending time away from your family, all that bottled up into being able to do exactly what you planned and foresaw yourself doing. You're owed something.
No, you're not. By the way, Tom Brady puts in the same commitment. He doesn't feel he's owed something. Him saying I'm owed something, that's all I need to know about Cam.
I don't think that he's saying that was the wrong way for him to put it. I'll say that. I think what he's saying is I'm owed the ability to feel my emotions once I, score a touchdown or do something great. And I don't necessarily know that it means something to him. I think it's just that makes him who he is.
Okay, but he's in the off season. He came out and said, "I'm not going to dab anymore." He didn't just ad lib the dab. Like guys just don't ad lib their celebrations. They've clearly, when you watch them.
Well, he did that dab so much it was like second nature to him.
Yeah, but when he first did it and he first thought about it, and Odell Beckham does his stuff again. If certain things matter to you, like you ever interview somebody, if you go for an interview. If let's say, okay, Christine, you're the boss, and do we have a sound effect for a door? Let's make this sound like a real interview, John. I'm already putting you on the spot. So Christine Leahy runs, it's called Leahy Incorporated. You're the boss.
That is my business. Perfect.
No kidding. So you're the boss, and you're interviewing me for a fairly crucial position. Okay, so you're the CEO, and I come in. So I walk into your office. And you're looking for something. So you've already got kind of a predetermined idea of what you need. Here we go.
Good job, Goulet.
So, okay, let's do it. What would you say to me? Okay, do it again. Do the sound effect again. Okay, here we go.
Hi, Colin. How can I help you?
Oh, Christine, how are you? It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, ask me a question.
What makes you want to work for this company?
Can I ask this, though? How much vacation time do I get?
I think there's some other questions we should probably get to before that.
Oh, that didn't sit with you, did it?
No.
Because that means something to me. If I ask you that, your initial reaction to that was, whoa, turn off, not hiring you. I suspect you love vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But if during a job interview you asked about vacation, I'm not hiring you. There's a big difference between liking vacation and it means so much that you talk about it and fight for it. That's where I fall on Cam Newton and Odell Beckham. I just closed the door and walked out, by the way, because you fired me without hiring me.
Because they're fighting for the right to
the
celebrate?
idea that you have a celebration, that you've come up with a dance, that you've spent time, it means something to you. Again, Barry Sanders, Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton. I know they're great because it had no value to them. That's not saying Barry Sanders may not have, in a moment of emotion, spiked it, but it meant nothing to him. And that's what turns me off. Celebration guy is always, I got it planned out, I gave it some time, so it means something to you.
Okay, but Tom Brady, I forget if it was his first week back this year or his second. He did a celebration too. I believe it was the dab, something like that. He probably thought about that, and it's Tom Brady.
I don't even remember it.
It happened.
I don't remember it. I think they're
promise
making
you,
it up.
I promise you it happened. And I think he did it because he felt so emotional about everything that had happened.
Do people understand what I'm saying out there in radio land?
No, we do. I think everyone understands. It's just a difference of personality. You don't like
By
celebrating.
the way, Billy White Shoes Johnson was an amazing player in the 70s, and he had this crazy dance. He was a very good receiver. But
is that the mashed potato?
Yeah, he practiced that. Jerry Rice spent every extra second working on routes. And one was a good player, one's the greatest I've ever seen.
Well, I've got to tell you right now.
Ickey Woods, by the way, worked on the Ickey Shuffle. Walter Payton worked on watching film and getting to the end zone.
Well, I believe that dance is called the mashed potato, and my guess is he didn't need to work very hard on that. It just comes naturally.
But it meant something to him.
He's a good dancer.
Just.
It means something to him to be able to express his emotions. It's a very emotional
Why can't you
thing.
express your emotions like with a hit?
They do. But then you have a reaction to it. It's just who he is as a person. So they're trying to stifle their personality, which I get. You kind of can't just be whoever you want to be. But as long as you're not doing anything out of control.
This idea that
no
you can't
problem
control your emotions. In college basketball, younger people, 18, 19, don't showboat. Why? Because they're told not to. So this idea that players can't control themselves. Oh, my God, I can't.
But why do they have to? As long as they're not doing anything ridiculous.
Because celebrations become, that's the thing. As long as they don't do anything ridiculous. If you gave T.O. and Ocho freedom, they did ridiculous stuff. That's the problem.
So do you want them to all be robots? I think part of what makes them who they are and such great athletes is because they're emotional.
RFL, the Robot Football League, would be fantastic. I have nothing. The RFL could be an exceptional league.
You would love it.
A few years back, I discovered the small home security company called Simply Safe. It was a college student. Got robbed. Said, this is not great. And he said, wouldn't it be great if you could create a home security system that wasn't like tethered to the walls and you have these big contracts? So they created Simply Safe Home Security. Now Simply Safe has a new security camera. It's different, it's new. It actually connects to sensors in your alarm system. That means anytime you're... Press conference with Tony Romo, it was scripted, and Christine Leahy was okay with the script. I was going to say scripture. You were okay with the script.
Yes.
I understand sometimes when you go into a big moment, you don't want to screw it up. So here's Tony Romo, and I thought it sounded like he was conceding the job this point forward to Dak Prescott.
You aren't handed anything. You earn everything, every single day, over and over again. You have to prove it. That's the way that the NFL, that's the way that football works. A great example of this is Dak Prescott and what he's done. He's earned the right to be our quarterback. As hard as that is for me to say, he's earned that right. But what is clear is that I was that kid once. I remember the feeling like it was yesterday. It really is an incredible time in your life.
So I think both of us felt that we've done speeches before, and if there is a certain number of things you want to get across, you do write them down. And I think he was pretty philosophical yesterday. I don't think it's the easiest thing in the world to do what Tony did. Tony just didn't want to have the wrong sentence come out or his words get jumbled up and then get quoted that he was out to get Dak.
Yeah.
So now I had Ray Lewis on earlier, and he was fired up about the Tony Romo presser. I thought Tony was authentic and from the heart, but Ray Lewis thought he was a little bit of a phony.
I just there's nothing Tony don't know about the game. There's nothing he don't know about the quarterback position, win, losing, all of that. And so this is not an issue that just came up in 1 week. This is something that's been going on all year. So I would have loved to just hear from his heart.
You didn't like looking down at the paper.
Give me you. Give me 100% you. And you being hurt and maybe disappointed and maybe pissed off, okay, that's fine. It's okay to be that. But give me that genuinely. Like, just come out and say, man, look, what do I want to be out there? Absolutely. I do want to be out there. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But I can't. And I cannot deny that this young kid is doing something that is very special. And guess what? You have to think about him going in the quarterback room, right, every week to where the coach is grading this young kid.
Yeah.
And you're watching this.
Yeah, Tony's in the room.
He's in the room now. And he's listening to what the quarterback coach and everybody is saying about this young kid. And so that's your message. Your message is everything you've seen. I'm sitting in the room with this guy. I'm watching the coaches praise this guy. It's his turn. Yeah, am I disappointed? Absolutely, I'm disappointed.
But when I watched that yesterday, you know what I thought, right?
Yeah.
I watched his body language, and he wrote it down to be careful. It was like, it's over. Like it was saying, now barring an injury, it kind of felt like it's conceding.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm going to agree because it's like, I always use the analogy, you think about the Serengeti, right? When that lion comes by and you ain't taking care of your pride, he going to try you. The king going to try the king. And there's a young lion in Dak Prescott who came in and now has this opportunity, man, and I'm telling you, Colin, why I don't know why he's not the front runner for MVP. Like, we have not seen a rookie quarterback come do this in years.
Peyton didn't.
Not in this league.
Eli took 6 years.
Yeah, you can go all the way down the line.
So why aren't we doing it?
I don't.
Well, he's a rookie.
See, but this is going back to the distraction on what I'm speaking about. We keep focusing on if Romo's going to get back in or not. We should be focusing on this young boy got his team 8-1, the best record in the National Football League. And he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, front runner for an MVP. I don't see nobody else. I'm not putting nobody else above that right now because of his body of work and what he's done in this one season.
Did you? Now again, you and I are going to disagree with this. Listen, for the first 6 years of Romo's life, that organization, that offensive line was a joke. Now you played in Baltimore. You had a good GM. You mostly were surrounded by good players, and you've told me often that one of the reasons you were able to excel because the defensive horse is in front of you.
Sure.
Tony for 6 years ran for his life.
Yeah.
And so I think he's underrated. I think Brady's always had good lines. Peyton Manning always had stars, Edger and James. And so I heard you don't like Romo. To be honest.
No, that's not true.
That's what they say.
That's not true. I like Romo. But what I'm telling you is right now, Romo is clearly the answer for Dallas is Dak Prescott. Men and women lie, right? But I believe numbers don't. And one thing about the harsh numbers is where in Romo's position, all of the fundamentally things that the infrastructure that they put around that, go get the best offensive line, go get the best running game in DeMarco Murray before you let him go get a beast wide receiver in Dez Bryant, go get all of these pieces, go get a Hall of Fame tight end in Jason Witten. Let me tell you why I like the quarterbacks why I like the Cowboys, because everything infrastructure wise is in place. And the one thing that they were missing, maybe, is Dak Prescott.
Ray Lewis earlier today. Very intense. I think speeches like that, like what Tony Romo did yesterday, like I talk for a living on the air. It's no big deal. I never think about it.
Right.
I just talk.
Mm-hmm.
But once every 3 or 4 years, I've got to give a speech. I'm terrible. Oh, I'm terrible.
Because you probably make too many notes.
No, because it's too important. Like, I'm good at just talking.
Mm-hmm.
But like Tony Romo yesterday was not just talking. He had to make a statement.
Yeah.
And he was pretty philosophical. At the very end, here was his last bite. It was pretty deep, I thought.
Or two enemies going on. One with the man across from you. The second is with the man inside of you. I think once you control the one inside of you, the one across from you really doesn't matter.
That's pretty deep. And I thought that told the story of the press conference. This was not about football.
Mm-mm.
This was about Tony Romo understanding where he is in his life, what matters to him, coming to terms with his current life and his life moving forward, and it won't be football in Dallas. And I also thought watching that press conference, you got a real good sense that Tony and Jerry Jones had long conversations about this, and that Jerry's very pro-Tony and pro-player. And I think Jerry has probably said, listen, Tony, we'll make it work. We'll find a place for you. We'll my theory earlier that John hates because he's a Cowboy fan is if you go look at the records in the NFC right now, Dallas 8-1, favored to win this weekend. Seattle's the only one close. I think they're going to end up resting Dak Prescott last week and playing Tony Romo to showcase him for the rest of the general managers in the league. And then here, that would be Jerry Jones's favor to Tony Romo. We play in Philadelphia. I don't want Dak to get hurt. We'll showcase you for the last week.
What if he breaks a collarbone again?
You know what? You got Dak Prescott.
That's a valid point.
His trade value is not going to be very high.
Well, I don't think his trade value now because people don't remember Tony playing. I think that everybody's questioning his health. All right, we got to get